Why do some witnesses apologize for their own testimony? How can lawyers really improve a client's overall feeling and attitude towards litigation? And what really is the difference between a confident witness and an ego-driven witness? Well, I hope I've piqued your interest because this episode is going to address all these questions and more about confidence building in witness prep. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, Trial Lawyer Prep. I'm your host, Elizabeth Larrick, and we're here to talk all things preparation for trial lawyers. Today's episode, we are going to jump into how lawyers can create confidence in their clients before deposition. So we talk a lot about deposition prep and trial prep and wanting confident witnesses. And what does that really mean? So let's talk a little bit about what is confidence when we talk about deposition testimony and what might be the opposite of that, which is ego. So confidence, knowing with certainty that they have the answers and that they actually provide the correct response. Most of our clients walk into deposition prep knowing their story. They lived it, they experienced it, they know it. But they don't necessarily always have the assurance or the belief that it answers the questions. They know that they will be challenged in deposition, and this is where a lot of uncertainty comes from. They've never been in the experience, they don't know the questions, what they have seen or heard looks really terrible. And so what we want as lawyers is to give them the belief in what their story is, belief in that it answers the questions, it's exactly on point, and it's going to be the thing that carries their case forward. What's the opposite of that? Ego. And we have probably seen this many times in clients who want to win the deposition, okay? They think, hey, I'm going to anticipate this question. Not only am I going to get this question, but I am going to add a little bit more on here to push my case forward, right? And that's not what we want. That is, I'm going to save for an entirely different episode about how to work with, I would say, the ego client, the ego testimony. And today we're going to focus on confidence. So these are people who may be ramblers, right? They're really unsure, so they ramble. Maybe they're really unsure and they're quiet, right? Either way, we can generally spot somebody who needs just a little bit of confidence in what they're saying before they walk into that deposition. So we have 3 really quick things that we can do to help build confidence in our clients. And the first thing is to use their words. We are notorious, us lawyers, for nitpicking, critiquing language, words, wanting our clients to rearrange sentences, rearrange responses, use different words, use lawyer words to make everything just sound better, to make it almost be a little bit perfect. And you really want to resist doing this because when you are nitpicking and changing and switching things, it's actually reducing their confidence in what they have to say because in their minds, oh, you're the leader, you're my lawyer, and you're telling me what I'm saying is wrong. Again, because they have no context, they've never been in this before. So, we're sitting down to prep for deposition, they're very cognizant, they are listening, and while you may not see it consciously, right, it's definitely happening subconsciously. So we want to be really careful when we start to nitpick, switch words, and tell people how to answer. Now, I know at some point there's a very thin line here where we're crossing over to coaching. And you may be thinking, well, I don't do that, Elizabeth. I know you don't. But let's just dial this back a little bit because I have a lot of resistance with lawyers. We talk about using their clients' words because many a times the reason we have extensive or extended deposition prep is because what the client is saying is just really confusing. It's just confusing. And so what I would encourage you, if you have that problem, if you're facing that confusing testimony that just, you focus grouped it and it's confusing. You've had other people listen to it or read the statements and it's just confusing. What I would encourage you to do then is to keep asking questions, right? Ask a little more, ask a little more. And these are simple questions. Tell me more about that. Okay, so I hear you saying that you were going which way? Oh, okay. So this way, and it's okay to tell them, gosh, the way that you're saying it is just a little confusing. You know what? Let's draw it out and then walk me through it. By doing that, you are going to clarify, get some clarity on what they're saying, right? And help them get to the best version of their own words. Because again, most of the time people don't talk about what happens in their case or their crash or their medical malpractice or their business litigation problems, right? They don't talk about that to other people. It's just stuck in their brains. And so you're helping just pull it out, make it clear. And by doing that, you are giving them confidence. You're going to be using their words. Now, step 2 to building confidence, or rather I'd say another tip in building confidence, is making them the creator. So many a times when we set up to do depo prep, we have pre-prepared medical timelines. We have pre-prepared chronological facts of the case. Maybe we have other pre-prepared documents. What I would encourage you to do is to create together. Make them a co-creator with documents, with timelines, walking through medical, walking through the major points, right? And doing it together. Because when you are doing that, again, you are saying, I'm relying on you here. You got all the good stuff. We're just going to pull it out of you. So we're going to give a lot of confidence in building things together. So a good example of this is the structure of doing what we've called it a T-chart, kind of a counterpunch, right? In this T-chart, imagine a giant notepad and you draw a T, right? And on one side, you as a lawyer are going to write out the defense point, just one, and all the questions. How are they going to ask those questions? And then also the insinuations, right? What are they insinuating about this defense point? And then you would hand it over to your client to write the truth on the other side of the T-chart. Now, what this does, obviously, we've talked a little bit about this before, it creates amazing connections in their brains that they couldn't make otherwise, right? Even if we verbally say it to it, it's very difficult. It's a concept. We need to write it down and put it in black and white. And so when you have this T-chart, you're creating structure. You create the structure and then you hand it over for them to finish it out, right? And again, even in this process, you may say, gosh, Elizabeth, they're going to write something confusing. That's okay to pause and ask questions, to pause and make sure, is this the truth? Is this the strongest truth? That's another great question to write when you're working through this particular T-chart. But when you are doing that and you hand over that marker, you hand over that pen and you say, okay, you go, it's your turn. Now you are giving them confidence. Wow, my lawyer is putting me in the driver's seat. So making them a co-creator of the documents, the visuals that you do together for depo prep, huge confidence booster. And the last point that I will say is along the way in your deposition prep sessions, when we talked about when we rewire our deposition prep, we're going to have 2 meetings, okay? I'm just going to say that you said, oh, of course, Elizabeth, that makes sense. We have to repeat things so people remember it. So when we go along, we're in our sessions, our depo prep sessions, we are going to build confidence by telling them, by giving positive feedback as you go along. Again, thinking you are the leader, you're always in the driver's seat. And when you can give that positive feedback, yes, this is exactly what we're talking about. Yes, you are exactly on track. You're doing a great job here. This is hard work and you're doing a great job. So important because again, they're doing something new. It's unfamiliar to them. So you really want to make sure that you are using positive feedback and encouragement. Again, that builds confidence. And it's not false confidence, by the way, because you're actually watching them do the work. So let's say you have to spend 30 minutes walking through how the crash happens. Have them draw it out. Ask them okay, what is this? Okay, walk me through this. Oh, tell me this. That's a lot of hard work. And it's okay to say, that was awesome. Thank you. So this is exactly what you're going to be doing in deposition, and you nailed it here. So I know you're going to do great. Okay, so it's not like we're just going there and, blowing hot air at somebody. We are going in there and positively providing feedback once we get their commitment. And it's going to continually build confidence because they're going to trust in you. Okay, awesome. This is the person who's supposed to be telling me what to do and how to do it. And they're telling me I'm doing a good job. They're acknowledging that I'm doing hard work. That builds confidence. Instead of what I normally see when I work with other lawyers or watch clients testify, I can see that there's been a lot of nitpicking and negative feedback. If you say this, we will lose. If you do this, we will lose. That is terrifying. And we also have talked about how fear is just not a motivator. Okay, in this situation, they're terrified. So that is not the way we want to build confidence. And actually, again, we talked about that reduces confidence and increases fear and uncertainty. And those are habits we do not want people to tap into in deposition testimony, because that means we're going to ramble, we're going to be silent, or we're just going to get pushed around, or just going to result to, I don't know. These are not things we want our confident witnesses to do in deposition testimony. Remember, our key here is that we know our clients know their story, but do they believe it? Do they believe it? And that is going to solve their problems in deposition and carry the case forward. And these are things that they don't know. So again, that's why that positive feedback is important. That's why it's important to co-create with them when you're doing depo prep, and also to be using their words, to be very cognizant of stopping the nitpicking, letting them use their words, in their phrasing, their analogies. Always gut checking to make sure that it's clear testimony. You do all these steps or you do these things and you think, okay, how do I really know if somebody has confidence? That's where our role play comes in. So that's where our litmus test, we're going to get through all of our depo prep and we're going to leave that role play to the end. And then you're just going to test things. You're going to bring in somebody, a new face, and they're going to roll through hard questions. They're going to roll through questions with demeanor and tone, kind of change, see how they can flip things around to see if they can test that client, that confidence. And if it's not there, then you just stop, regroup, and go back. All right. I hope that you enjoyed this particular episode. And don't forget, we also talked about 3 ways to rewire and use brain strategies for witness prep. And that's a couple episodes back, and I'll drop that in the show notes for you. Also, if you find yourself struggling with a client or struggling with ways to help a particular client with confidence, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't forget, that's what I do, and a link will be in the show notes for a free consultation call. All right, until next time, thank you so much.